The Fall of Avalon has a ton of different systems and mechanics to dive into, so here is a beginner's guide along with some tips to help get you started. Chapter markers below. Let's start off talking about armor, which does work differently than it does in some other RPGs. So armor in this game, better armor, is typically going to have some attribute requirements. As you can see right here on the dual knight armor, I have to have 6 strength and 6 endurance in order to take full advantage of this piece of armor, and because I don't meet those attribute requirements, I'm currently only getting 4.5 out of the 9 armor that this armor potentially could offer my character. So make sure to keep an eye on that, and if you don't meet the attribute requirements, if you're close, sometimes it still might be worth wearing that armor, but typically you want to wear armor that fits your build and the way that you're leveling your character with your attributes. Now, where it can get a little confusing, and this game differs from some other RPGs out there, is that individual armor pieces don't have a category that they fall into when it comes to weight. So if you look at the dual knight armor right here, in the bottom right, you can see that it weighs 8, and just by looking at it, it clearly is very, very heavy armor. But if I were to wear this and nothing else, if we take a look at the armor weight bar right here, you can see that I currently fall into the medium category. So if I were to wear this heavy armor, I would only be leveling up my medium armor skill. If we go over to character status under endurance, you can see we have light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor, and one of these skills will passively level up, but this depends on where you fall on the armor weight scale. It doesn't matter if you're wearing what you consider to be a heavy piece if you fall into the medium category. So if I take that off, now you can see I fall into the light category, and if we put on, let's put that heavy armor on and then maybe wear a few light pieces right here. Once I get into the heavy category, that's when I'm going to start leveling up the heavy skill. So individual armor does not have weight categories. You have to look at where you fall on the armor bar in order to know what you're passively leveling up. Now, also with the armor bar, as you can see right here, there's different benefits and disadvantages to falling into different categories. So if we take off my heavy armor here, if we take off most of my armor, you can see I'm in the light category right now. I could even put on some druid robes and I'll still be in the light category. You can see that mana regen, stamina regen, attack speed, casting speed, dash speed, and my movement speed are all increased by 20%. And I also have a dash counter of 3. And when we get into the medium category, there are no multipliers to all of those categories, dash counter 2. And when I get into the heavy category, now we actually have a minus 10% to all of those aspects and a dash counter of 1. So pay attention to where you fall on the armor weight bar versus trying to figure out if a particular piece of armor is light, medium, or heavy. Since we're talking about weight, we might as well talk about encumbrance now. Keep in mind your armor weight does also affect your encumbrance level. So if you pick up an armor that weighs 1, it's adding 1 to your encumbrance, and your encumbrance can be seen up here on the top right. You can see the little weight icon, and I'm 100 out of 175 right now. To get more encumbrance, to raise that limit, you're going to be investing into the attribute of endurance. As you can see, we have an encumbrance limit plus 10 every time you level up. And also keep in mind that if you level into strength, you'll be reducing your armor weight multiplier. Now, you don't want to go over the encumbrance limit, of course, because watch what happens when I do if I go ahead and just pick up a bunch of stuff here in my chest. You can see I'm now at 181 out of 175, and what we're going to do is go into the character menu, click on status, and you can see right here, over encumbered, you're carrying too many items in your inventory, decreasing your movement speed multiplier, stamina regen, and mana regen by 0.5. So you're less effective in combat, and also you just move this damn slow. So keep an eye on your encumbrance limit. Make sure to come back to the keep and sell things, and take advantage of your stash chest right here. Your stash in Act 1 in Chapter 1 is right next to Fergus and the keep. So it's just sitting right here. You can just offload things into that to keep your encumbrance in check. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about items in the world. So obviously many people are labeling this as a Scrolls-like game, and part of the Scrolls-like genre, that is now a genre now, is an open world where so many items in the environment you can interact with, you can pick them up, you can sell them, you can use them. And this game, of course, has a lot of that. So if we go up to just this, oh man, this is a bad table to go up to, but you can see we have blood clot right here, and also a medic's measuring tool. You're going to be coming up to a lot of items wondering what's worth picking up and what's not worth picking up. Well, if we go into our inventory, click on bag, and then sort by newest right here, you can see that the medic's measuring tool is labeled as garbage. So therefore, its only use, or at least from what I found, is all the garbage equipment that I've picked up, I think all of it, the only use that you have for it is selling it if you think it's worth the amount of gold that it can potentially offer. And right here it says 13 gold. If I come down here to the skull, it's labeled as a crafting region, telling me that if I'm into crafting in this game, I might want to hang on onto it to figure out what it might be useful for, and you can actually use it in a few different things regarding crafting. If we come down here to the horseshoe, it's labeled as garbage. So over time, just keep checking in your inventory, and over time you'll learn what types of items actually have a specific use, which ones are best to sell. But just note that you can always come into your bag, and in the bottom left you can see what that item is for. Now, another way to find items in this world is by finding little dig spots, but you do have to have a shovel in order to dig, and you'll come across a shovel in the prologue and also all over the open world. Anybody who watched my Baldur's Gate 3 Let's Play would know I'm not the guy to ask about shovels though, because I think I went almost all the way through Act 2 without finding a shovel. But once you have a shovel in your inventory, you don't have to equip it, you just have to have it in your inventory. And if you go up to a little site right here, sometimes you'll see little butterflies flying around the dig site, which will indicate and let you see it a little bit easier. You can see there's one over here too. But if we go up to the dig site and I just press E, press it a couple times, it will dig this up, and then we got some coin and wine, and sometimes you'll find some really good items underground. And this will bring us into the crafting segment here. Crafting's pretty straightforward in this game. If you can find a cooking pot anywhere, or even if you place your own bonfire down, you can go up and cook. And as you explore the world, you're going to be picking up items and stuff, but you're also going to be looking out for little pieces of paper that have recipes for food. Sometimes you'll find notes outside of jail cells. Sometimes you'll find drops on enemies. Sometimes you'll talk to an NPC. There's a lot of different ways to get different recipes, but food is actually really good in this game. So as you can see right here, I have several different recipes, and if I cook Hunter's Stew, which requires venison, potato, and garlic, this is going to restore 125 health over 60 seconds. And the reason why food is so useful in this game is because our autofill slot right here is going to be food. So if we back out here and I take my weapons out, you can see in the bottom right, on PC at least, if I press C, I'm cycling between those potion slots and then the autofill slot. And food is a really good way to... I pop it in combat sometimes. It's a heal over time, so it's a little bit riskier in combat. You have to be a little bit evasive to let that heal take place. But after combat, if you're low on HP, this is when food really shines in this game. If you have half HP, eat some food. Even if it's undercooked food, which means that you cooked something without actually having a recipe, or you cook something that doesn't fall into a recipe, because please note, if you cook something that is a recipe, you'll get the recipe. So you could technically look up recipes online and then get them all just by cooking them if you have the ingredients. But if we go ahead and just use random ingredients here, and then I craft something, I have undercooked food here, which restores 16 health over 30 seconds. So I'm missing just a little bit of health right now, so let me just eat some undercooked food, and there you can see slowly healing me over time back to my max HP, because I was only missing a little bit of health. You note that as you're cooking, you can actually see what your percentage chance is of creating a food item that has better stats or worse stats than the default, and you increase this by simply just doing more cooking. Your cooking level will go up. Now, you can actually farm food. You can actually create like your own little garden in this game, but we're not going to talk about that in this video. But the best way to find food is simply just by searching the environment and searching crates. Crates just have so much food when you're walking around the open world. You're just going to find it everywhere. Of course, if you need like venison or something like that, you can find that in a crate, but you're going to want to search for deer in the wild, and they will drop venison. And also, there's the fishing minigame. And to fish, you have to find a fishing pole. You can find fishing poles in all sorts of different locations. You can even find one right near the beach when you first spawn into Chapter 1, the Horns of the South. But you do actually have to equip the fishing pole onto one of your pre-slots here. Some of these crafting items, like the mining pickaxe, you don't actually have to equip, you just have to have it in your inventory. But if we go ahead and click right here, and I click on the fishing pole, now I can aim at water right here, and then I can press E, pop it in, and then we're going to wait for the pole to start showing signs of a fish actually biting. There we go. And then I'm going to press E on mouse and keyboard. Then we have to play a little mini game here. Oh no, you got to try to keep the hook inside the orange bar. If you can do that long enough, which is indicated by the circles going away to the left of the bar, you get yourself a fish, and the fish can of course be used in cooking. And it's also really cool that you can get new records with the size of the fish that you catch. I like little details like that the devs add. Alchemy is also just similar to cooking. You just have to gather the ingredients, which can be found in crates or on tables and stuff like that. But there's also certain creatures in this game that you'll learn over time what drop the ingredients that you need. For example, the corpse eaters, they drop some good alchemy ingredients. You see we have a blood clot right here and a monster brain, both of which can be used. Let's see what the drowner drops. And we have spoiled meat and a fisherman's tunic. So once again, if you don't know if it's an ingredient, if I pick up the spoiled meat and I go into my bag and go to recent, we sort by recent item so I know where it's at. You can see that spoiled meat is a consumable. Consumption leads to suffering, lose 15 health. So there's most likely a certain potion that you can make out of that, maybe a potion that you can chuck at an opponent, an offensive type potion. So that means that it's something that you might want to hang on to until you figure out what it's exactly used for in Alchemy. Alchemy benches can be found all over the map, sometimes even in dungeons themselves. And the keep right here, if we go into Brother Riagan's quarters, he has an alchemy station on the left side. We just walk up to it, click on it, and once again, just like with cooking, you're going to be finding recipes throughout the world if you search things well and look at notes and stuff like that. And there's a huge variety of different potions that you can create in this game, including ones that you can chuck at opponents. Like I said, offensive type potions. Unlike with cooking though, you can't put random ingredients together to try to create a potion. This game really does allow you to actually become kind of like a witcher if you want to build into always using potions, and there's a ton of very, very, very powerful potions in this game. So don't forget to put them onto your quick slots right here, depending on what you need. Now let's talk about the blacksmithing workbench. Of course, this is going to relate to you having a mining pickaxe, which you can pick one up in the asylum. They're also just scattered throughout the world. Now, you don't have to have the mining pickaxe equipped, you just have to have it in your inventory. And when you're walking around the world, you'll notice little deposits here. This right here is actually iron ore, so we're just going to walk up to it, press E 3 times. It does use up stamina, and now we have iron ore in our inventory. Go to newest and you can see it right there. It's a crafting region. There are different types of metals you're going to be farming as you get into some of the later areas of chapter 1. More towards the north, you're going to be finding ore such as meteorite ore, I think it's called. But first, I just want to tell you, if you don't have a mining pickaxe, you didn't get one in the asylum, this is the starting beach right here. If you just follow this path right up here, you're going to find a pickaxe in that area. The back at the keep, there is a blacksmith who is in this area right here, and you're going to talk to him. He's actually going to give you a few quests that involve using the workbench right here, and this will lead to more recipes. And if we walk up to, the game calls it the grindstone, I just call it the workbench because it looks like you're more so going up to a workbench. As you can see here, there's 4 different things that we can do here. Shout out to the devs for creating so many systems and mechanics in this game. But handcrafting is where you're going to actually craft armor and weapons, alongside a couple other things such as arrows if you're an archer, and leather, which is used in several other different things. So if you have animal hide, this is where you're going to be crafting that leather, which you'll need. But if we just click on, let's say, this helm right here, you can see that I need iron ore, I need leather, and then also monster brain. So some of the alchemy ingredients are also used in handcrafting as well, depending on the armor or weapon type. Now, bow users, you will have to have arrows. They are not infinite supply in your inventory, and you need wood to craft arrows. So what you need to do is find lumbering spots. You don't actually just go up to trees and chop them down. This can be really confusing for players in the beginning. You do need to have a woodcutter's axe. You don't have to have it equipped, just kind of like the pickaxe. You just have to have it in your inventory. And when you find these lumbering spots, press E or whatever it is on controller, and you will get wood into your inventory. There is one in the keep, which is right where you can see on my map right here. And then close to the keep, there's also one in this area right here near the hunter's camp. If we go to the upgrade system, this is actually really cool because if you find some armor that you take a liking to, but you're worried that, 3 hours later, you feel like it's not going to hold up because you're progressing further in the game, well, go ahead and just upgrade that armor. As you can see right here, the Battle Mage's Hood, I don't meet the required attributes, so I'm just using this as an example. It's currently 3.5 armor, but if I have leather, meteorite ore, which is a little bit harder to find out in the open world, and a sharpening stone, pick up all the sharpening stones that you can find. They are everywhere in crates, etc. I can upgrade from 3.5 to 4 armor. You can also do this with your weapons as well. So the spine splinter knife right here is 13 to 15 damage. I can upgrade it to 14 to 16. Also take note of the little affixes and extra stats that you get. So the Battle Mage's gloves right here, sure, we're getting the armor increase, but the current increase in max mana is 10. If I upgrade, it goes to 11. So everything about the armor upgrades here. Now, we're just going to skip over attach relic real quick and go to armor weight reduction. And I click on this dual knight armor right here. As you can see, this is going to make it go from 8 down to 7.5. and this does require meteorite ore and once again a sharpening stone. Now the attached relic system is really cool. So out in the open world and chests and all sorts of different places, you're going to be finding little blue items that are relics that you can attach to your weapons to get cool little extra bonuses. So if we just click on a random weapon here that I might consider using, you can see that I have to pay gold to attach up to 2 relic slots. So 1 relic slot is 500. If you want to get them both, that is of course going to cost 1,000. If I click add relic slot and then click on the open relic slot, it'll bring up your menu of relics that you found that are in your inventory. This one, for example, the weapon will now apply burning. This one makes it so the weapon deals an additional 10% damage. And then you just click on the relic and you attach it. It doesn't cost anything. You just have to pay to create the relic slot. And there we go. So now this weapon right here has the Starborn Egg relic. Weapon deals an additional 10% damage. Let's talk about character progression now. There's several different ways that your character will be progressing in this game. And most common one, or the most obvious one, I guess I could say here, is of course just gathering XP, killing enemies, completing quests, etc. And once your XP bar fills up here on the top right, you will level up. One more creature and I think I'll probably get the level up. And now you can see points available in the top right, and it tells me to set a bonfire. So the most traditional form of leveling, we got another wolf. You're going to rest at a bonfire, and to pull up your bonfire, pull up your radial menu, which is holding down Q on mouse and keyboard. I think it's left bumper on controller. And on the left side right here, you can see that we have bonfire. And we're going to place that on the ground. And then I'm going to go to the level up option right here. Every time you level up, you get 1 point to spend in an attribute and 1 to spend on the skill trees. So if we go to attributes right here, each attribute has its own list of benefits that you get from putting another point into it. Strength, of course, here is melee damage, max stamina, and also armor weight multiplier, while spirituality, spell power, max mana regeneration. Now, putting a point into an attribute is more than just getting these extra bonuses right here. Certain weapons and also armor pieces in this game have different attribute requirements. So don't stress out too much in the beginning. Just think of it in the traditional sense. If you're going to be playing that two-handed heavy armor wielding type warrior build, naturally most of the weapons and armor pieces that you come across will deal with the strength attribute, have a strength requirement, and also probably endurance. If you're going to play that archer type, you're looking at dexterity and probably perception, which is that crit chance. And if you're going to play as a caster, you're looking at spells requiring spirituality and certain armor pieces that benefit casters requiring a certain amount of spirituality. There's a lot of pieces in this game and items that require multiple attributes, but in the beginning, just go with what you think is right, because it's most likely putting you in the right direction. And then you can respec later in the game if you think you need to with an origin potion. We'll talk about that here momentarily. I do also want to mention that the amount of points that you put into an attribute also may determine if you're able to use a particular dialogue response when talking to some NPCs. So in some conversations, you'll see a dialogue that pops up that says if you have this amount of strength or this amount of practicality, you can use this particular response, which may result in something slightly different or sometimes even completely different in this game. Your other point is going to be spent on one of the skill trees. As you can see, we have 6 different categories here, each representing one of the attributes. Now, if you know what build that you want to go with, you're always playing that two-handed warrior under strength. We have a two-handed tree right here. But keep in mind, if you're unsure of what you want to do, or maybe you're going to be more of a hybrid character, there are more general categories within a lot of these skill trees. So under strength, we have the general category, and investing points into general is a flat out 10% increase to melee damage, whether you're using a two-handed weapon or a one-handed weapon. So this is good for anybody who's doing melee, period. You don't have to know exactly what you want to do. And don't forget about the practicality skill trees here, as we have an entire section for crafting and trading if you're into that. The first node right here will increase the amount of gold that you get for selling items. As you can see, I maxed this out because I was farming gold for a little bit. I do want to point out that although the majority of these nodes are just increases to percentages or stats, just number increases, making you more powerful, sometimes you'll come across some nodes that are a little bit more interesting, like the All-Mother's Blessing right here under the healing tree. Resting gives you a random blessing, increasing one of your statistics. So if you really want to find something cool and a cool build, make sure to go through all of the nodes. Under dexterity, if you go into the movement tree and you unlock this second node, you can add one more long dash to your character regardless of what armor that you're wearing. Now, another form of progression is just by doing things in this game. If we go ahead and go into our character menu and click on status and look under the attributes right here, this will open up the list of all of the skills that you'll level up passively. Not really passively, because you're actively doing the skills, but these will level up without you having to invest points into any of them like you did at the Bonfire. So the more that you use one-handed weapons, the more this is going to level up, and you're going to increase your damage with one-handed weapons as a whole. Under dexterity, the more that you use bows, the more powerful bows are going to become for you. Then we even have categories here, or skills here, that are a little bit more utility based, such as theft. So the more that you lockpick, the better that you're going to get at it. And then practicality is all of your crafting in this game. The more that you do alchemy, the more powerful your potions become, and so on. And even just sprinting around and running around and swimming in the ocean and exploring, this is going to be increasing your athletic skill, which is going to make your character quicker at sprinting and also swimming. Really love systems like this. Makes it feel like you're just always progressing in the game, and I feel like that's how RPGs should be. Now, some of you are, of course, wondering if you can respec, and the answer to that is yes, but you do have to have something called an origin potion. There's at least 6 or 7 of these on the first map alone, and that's not even including the ones that you might find vendors selling once in a while. You just have to be someone that's willing to explore things. You can also get an origin potion in the asylum, in the jail cell that is across from Brother Cassian, but all you have to do is just simply drink an origin potion, click on it, and when you lay down your campfire, you got all of your attributes and all of your skill points back. Now, you don't respec your passive skills that you're leveling up, but you do respec all of those attribute points, and of course all of the skill trees as well. Here's a quick tip. I'm not going to give them all away for you, but just west of the keep in this little gap right here, if you can find your way all the way down this cliff, or you could actually go behind the keep onto the ocean and under the rock overhang, if you can find your way down into that area, there's a little chest that's tucked up against the cliff, and inside that chest is an origin potion. So let's talk quickly about statues and shrines. So as you explore the world, and even in the keep itself, actually, when you first arrive at the main keep, there's a statue that you can see right when you walk into the front gate. But even out in the open world, you're going to come across statues, such as this statue right here, which gives you a little bit of lore about some characters in the history here. But depending on what the statue is, this will give you a free level boost, some XP, in a particular skill. So this statue right here, she's holding a bow, and I just got a level increase in my archery. You're going to find statues all over, so just keep an eye out. It's always great getting the free XP boost. Also, you're going to want to keep an eye out for shrines. Right here is a druidic shrine. I can't remember exactly what it gave me, but it did require that I have a few different items on me to offer as an offering. I think it gave me some sort of permanent stat increase, if I remember correctly. But there's all sorts of different shrines. You're going to find animal shrines where you have to bring certain animal parts, and then you'll get certain buffs, and you're going to find shrines that even give you special items and amulets and stuff like that. There was one shrine that I came across that spawned in some magical spiritual animals. I had to kill them in a certain amount of time to then get a special reward. So keep an eye out for shrines. They are certainly worth it in this game. Quick section on combat here. First, take note that you have a main hand and an offhand. So you can dual wield, or you can, of course, equip a spell and then a melee weapon in one hand, or a soul cube and a spell in the other hand. There's a lot of really cool combinations that you can do here. We have 4 different weapon presets, and to cycle between them on mouse and keyboard, it's just 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can also hold down Q as well. Hold down your radial wheel, which is left bumper on controller, Q on mouse and keyboard, and that's another way to switch to different weapons if you're not good at clicking the numbers. But this game is heavily based off of managing stamina, probably for all characters, and then of course managing mana for those that get into the art of spellcasting. Now, it's important to note that your stamina drains in several different ways, and sometimes it might not drain in something that you think it would. So for example, I'm not in combat right now. Sprinting does not actually drain my stamina down. If I were to be in combat and the combat music comes in, when I sprint around, it will start draining down. Now, outside of combat, though, if you do use up stamina and then you sprint, it will prevent it from regenerating, so it's important to keep that in mind. Now, it's important to note that if you have a spell in one hand and a melee weapon in the other, you're not going to be able to block. The only way you can block with a spell in one hand is by having a shield in the other hand. Otherwise, spellcasters, you can't block. You're going to have to rely on those dashes. Now, blocking in combat and outside of combat, holding it down won't actually drain your stamina. It's when you take a hit and you block that hit, that's when the stamina drops way down, depending on what build you have going and what stats you've invested into, etc. So note that you can also parry in this game, which always drains stamina when you pull off a parry, but it drains less than actually holding down block, depending on your build, but by default it drains less. So let's go ahead and try to pull off a parry. Got to do it right at the last second. Just like that, and as you can see, it kind of staggered him back a little bit, and it didn't use up nearly as much stamina as when I was just holding down block and taking hits. The cool thing about parrying is that it actually, you can do it with a shield too. It prevents all damage coming in. Now, holding down block, you are going to still be taking damage, especially if you're blocking with a melee weapon. If you're using a shield, it's going to be much less damage that you're taking, potentially even negated depending on the shield. If you take a look at this wooden shield, you can see that it has 75 block, while my battle axe right here doesn't have a block category at all. So I'm taking more damage blocking the battle axe than I am with the shield. Now, your light attack in this game, when you're using a melee weapon, uses up stamina. Your heavy attack uses up more, of course. Should also mention that if you're sprinting and you press the light attack button with a melee weapon, you get this little dash forward attack. Nice opening. As you're attacking opponents, you got to keep an eye on that stamina level, because if it goes all the way away, we can check in the character status menu. If we drain it completely and I go into character status, as you can see that we are now overexerted. You can't perform any actions because your stamina has been depleted. It's only a few seconds, but in the heat of a battle, if you're in the face of like a boss or something, not being able to do something for a few seconds could cost you your life. When using a bow, the stamina starts draining the moment that you start pulling back the drawstring, and if you keep holding it down, it'll just auto-fire the arrow and give you like a split second of overexerted. Early on in the game, and if you're not doing like an archer build and you're using bows, it's going to be draining much quicker, and you're just going to be much worse at stamina management with this particular weapon. So look into the skill trees, look into the bows that you're using, and you can get much, much better at this. We, of course, have to talk about dash as well. The amount of times that you can dash, the amount of times that you can spam dash, I should say, is represented in the bottom left underneath that stamina bar. So you can see that I have 4 right now. So I can do 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I don't give it time to recharge after that 4th, I'm going to enter into the state of shorter dash, the dash penalty for 3 seconds, which lowers your dash distance when dashing too often. So if I dash right now with that penalty, you can see it's just a much smaller dash, and the penalty doesn't go away until I let it completely cool down. The amount of dashes that your character will have, we mentioned this earlier, is determined by your armor weight bar right here. If you're in the light category, you'll have 3 dashes. The medium, you'll have 2. If you're in the heavy category, you'll only have 1. But keep in mind, there's that dexterity node that you can invest into that will give you an extra one regardless of what weight category you fall into. Dashing is super useful for pretty much everybody, unless you're playing like a sword and board warrior. It might not be as important, but for magic users, I do it all the time. The thing I would recommend, though, is it might take a little bit of practice. This game has a little bit of jank to it in combat. And some of the opponents that you come across, if you dash too early, they're going to be like slide attacking you, and they'll change their slide direction mid-dash. So if I go up to one of these zombies right here, oh, I have a wolf on me too. Go up to a zombie and I dash too early, watch, you'll see what happens. See how it changed direction right there? So you're going to want to practice a little bit, just dashing a little bit later, and then they have less of a chance of sliding into your character. Now, mana is pretty straightforward. When you fire a spell, it starts to drain that mana, of course, and if you do a heavy cast, it'll drain more mana, and if you do like a channeling spell, it will continuously drain that mana down. So for this one, when I hold it down, see it's just draining over time. So pretty straightforward. Make sure to look in your spells descriptions to know what different types of casting that you can do with the spell. So the Burning Ember spell, on the top of the description, it tells me that a light cast, so just clicking the attack button, just clicking it one time, will fire out a projectile that shoots a small burning projectile, while the heavy cast will shoot a larger burning ball of fire. So all the spells in this game have like different versions and variations depending on if you do a light cast or a heavy cast. So don't miss out on that, because there's some really cool spells in this game. You can do a lot of really cool things. Now, summons in this game are a little bit different. I really like the way that they do the summon system in this game. So if we go ahead and select my wolf summon right here, and I call the wolf in, you'll notice that my max stamina has just gone down a little bit of a segment right there. What that means is I can actually call in more. In fact, I can call in up to 3 unless I invest into a particular skill tree. Then you can call in up to 5 summons at once, as long as you have the mana for it. You can see with the Keeper summon right here, it took up almost all my max mana just for one, so I'd have to wait until later in the game to be able to call in multiple of these guys. Now, do note that to dismiss a summon, they have to die, or you have to have a spell called the Soul Salvage spell. If I shoot the Soul Salvage at this guy, You can see that he's gone, and my mana is going back to what it was before, my max mana. And to find this spell, if I remember correctly, I think it's actually very close to where I'm at right now. The starting beach is right here, and if you take this path up, there's a dig spot right in this area that I think has the soul salvage spell. If it's not in that dig spot, it's going to be in that actual, there's a little mini miner's dungeon right here. You'll find it in there somewhere. So let's talk about the bonfire once again. We were using it before to level up. There's also some other uses that you can get out of it. You can rest, which will actually replenish your HP, and this will also pass time. If you don't want to run around at nighttime, go ahead and rest until morning time. We can also cook here, and then if you fuel the fire with cobwebs, and you're going to find cobwebs on drops at enemies at nighttime, you might find little deposits of it out in the world as well. If we fuel the fire with 10 cobwebs right here, you can see that it also opens up the alchemy crafting, so cooking and alchemy, and a few other things as well. So as you progress through the game, you're going to be picking up some items that need to be identified. As you can see, I have 2 right here. If you click on them, you can see how much it costs, how many cobwebs it's going to cost you to identify that particular item. So this one costs 5, the other one costs 3. Let's go ahead and identify, and the amount of cobwebs that you have are represented in the top right here next to your gold and encumbrance. Let's go ahead and identify that. Small mana potion, and that one is a crafting ingredient. Also at the campfire, this will let you fast travel from wherever you put it down as long as you fuel the fire with the cobwebs. In case you're unaware, there's also fast travel points on the map, and you can go from fast travel point to fast travel point. Right here outside of the keep, you can see there is a fast travel point. If you just walk up to one of these, you'll discover it, and then you're able to fast travel to other fast travel points. With the bonfire, though, you can fast travel to these fast travel points without being at a fast travel point. Another use of the bonfire when it's fueled with the cobwebs is that after you use your little weirdness power, right now I have this slow motion type power. You get this in the prologue of the game when you fight against that giant creature. Whenever King Arthur becomes part of you, you start getting access to these cool powers. But to refuel that, because you can only use it once per, I guess, long rest, I could say. If you do fuel a campfire, you can see now I have the option to restore Weird Soul power for 10 cobwebs. So we're farming those cobwebs for a variety of different things. And lastly, at the fire, if you see King Arthur chilling with you here, make sure to click the talk option. I don't have it right now because he's not here. But sometimes when you encounter certain things in the story or talk to certain NPCs, King Arthur's going to have something to say about that, and some of the dialogue is pretty cool, so don't miss that. All right, let me quickly talk about the map and also the questing journal. Do note that the journal in this game is not where your quests are actually kept. Your quests are kept under the quest tab. That confused me a little bit in the beginning, but under the quest tab we can sort quests by main, side, and miscellaneous. Miscellaneous in this game are like bounty hunting and stuff like that, while the side quests are a lot more story involved. But also note that we have a completed quest tab and a failed quest tab, so you can keep track of that. Some of you guys will be save scumming quite a lot. Now don't forget that some quests in this game can be tracked, and you'll be able to see an icon on your map, and to track a quest you just have to scroll over it, and on mouse and keyboard you have to press E, and then the icon for tracking it will show up right here. And if we go to the map for Blade and Shadows, you can see that my character is right here, this little pointer, and then I need to go here for that quest. Not all quests in this game can be tracked to specific locations, but many of them can. So don't forget about that. You can only track one quest at a time. Now, since we're on the map itself, it can look a little bit confusing. I kind of wish they color coordinated it a little bit better, but all these items right here show you where quests are, sometimes where you have to go for quests that you're not tracking. Then we have all these icons right here that represent shrines that are out in the world. We have the cave icon, which indicates dungeons, and then also we have icons for the crafting stations, so you can keep track of those. Fast travel icons, and then if you see the home icon, this is a home that you're actually able to purchase in the game yourself. And you can place a marker yourself, which will show up on your compass at the top of the screen, and so will the other quests that you're tracking and other icons like shrines. In the last 2 segments of this video, I'm going to talk about a horse and also a pet. If you want to discover those on your own, just go ahead and exit the video right here. But I did just talk about fast travel with the bonfire, so let's go ahead and talk about another form of fast travel, and that is the horse. So you'll discover your first horse. I'm not sure if there's another one on this map or not, but if you look at the starting beach right here, we just go up a little bit, there's this bridge, and underneath it, this is the King's Road Bridge. Right here on the map, so starting beach is right here. Here is the bridge, I'm placing the marker. Underneath the King's Road right here, you can see there's a white horse right there. Now there are a couple NPCs that don't want you to have it, so we're going to kill them, and then we can take the horse right here, And you get a little horse tutorial. This is basically just telling you that if you want your horse, you can hold down your radial menu here, and next to the bonfire we have the horse option. So that's how you call your horse. You can do the horse in third person too, which is what I prefer, and you definitely move quicker than if you're just running around. Gotta hold down shift, sprint, and it's a good time. If you lose your horse or whatever, you can just hold down Q and then click call horse, and then the horse will work its way over to you. And good news, you can't actually kill the horse. So you just got to find it, and then it becomes your pet, and then you can call it. And the other pet, I'm not going to spoil it completely. I'm going to spoil the location though, is this little guy that I have running around with me. Come here, buddy. We can do a few different things here. We can pet. We can have it do a trick. And I think the main reason why people want the pet is just to have a little companion running around with you. This pet is invincible, so it won't die on you. You do have to find where to locate it. I'm not going to spoil what the dungeon looks like, but if we go ahead and go back to the map, we're on Chapter 1, the Horns of the South. The starting beach is right here, and then right up here above it, we have a shrine of a forgotten god. You just got to find your way up on top of that cliff and then explore that dungeon. Thank you all so much for watching. I have a few videos coming out soon. I already have one out that goes over special items that you might not want to miss in different chapters and stuff like that. So if you're looking for like a really cool bow, got stuff like that on the way. Appreciate y'all. Peace.